Welcome to According to Sam, folks. This is episode 214. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you guys have had a great week and are geared up for the holiday weekend. I have a really good show for you today. I want to start today's show by letting you know if you watch this podcast on the X Twitter platform, you will not be able to see this podcast until after 10 o'clock. I have been locked out of my account on X for 12 hours. And the reason why I was locked out of my account is a great topic to get us going in today's podcast. For future reference, if you want to follow my podcast and get alerts when it's posted, the best way to do it is to follow me on Substack. It's free. The Substack has all of my archives, even going back to the audio podcast. You can also watch the podcast on YouTube, on Facebook, on Rumble, and you can listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get an RSS feed. But why was I locked out of my X account? Well, I was locked out of my X account because Joe Biden has put out a new ad. Now, Joe Biden his campaign is really frustrated right now. They do not understand what they have to do to get a bone. Give a dog a bone is, I'm sure, what his campaign team is saying, because they're probably frustrated. They're probably saying, what do we have to do? If you see this rally that Trump had in the Bronx yesterday, and I don't even have time to play all of the, beautiful people of color, Black people, Hispanic people who were at this rally, and the clips of interviews, people asking them why they're supporting Trump. And I mean, just beautiful, beautiful people. You'll see those clips on other podcasts and on other shows. I don't have time to show, but this podcast is about the big picture. So today, the Biden administration, they put out a new ad that they have crafted, and it's full of lies. I mean, the ad is full of lies. It is a complete miss. They're getting ready to put this ad out on Labor Day or Memorial Day weekend, and they're going to run this all summer because they have tons of money. You're getting ready to see this ad everywhere, but this ad doesn't hit. It's not hitting at all. I want you to watch this ad, and we'll talk about how this ad got my account locked.
From midnight tweets to drinking bleach to tear-gassing citizens and staging a photo op, we knew Trump was out of control when he was president. Then he lost the 2020 election and snapped, desperately trying to hold on to power. Now he's running again, this time threatening to be a dictator, to terminate the Constitution.
If I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath.
Trump wants revenge, and he'll stop at nothing to get it.
All right, so
I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
So you're getting ready to see this ad everywhere. They have, again, tons of money. They are getting ready. I saw an interview with someone from his campaign. They are getting ready to put this ad everywhere on repeat. The frequency will be outrageous, is what they said, because they think that, this is what their team has come up with. They think that this is a winner. They said that people need to be reminded of what. So what I did when this first part of the first line, this whole ad is filled with lies. It's lies from the beginning to end. I want you to also notice something about this ad is that everything in this ad is about Trump in 2020. See, that's what they want you to forget about Trump's first 3 years in office. They only want you to judge him in the year 2020. We'll talk about why that's important here in this podcast a little bit later. But everything in this ad is 2020 Trump. And the polls show People are not judging Trump on 2020. People are looking at Trump objectively, looking at the first 3 years of his administration, what he did and was able to accomplish before COVID. If you remember the last podcast, we were talking about Alan Lippman's 13 keys. And back when Alan Lippman only had 3 of these keys turned for Trump, people remember that. People remember the time that Alan Lippman only had 3 of these keys turned for Trump before they turned the other 3. But in the beginning of this ad, the very first thing they say is a lie.
From midnight tweets to drinking bleach.
Trump never said drink bleach. He never said from midnight tweets to drinking bleach. I guess they put that together for the alliteration, but it's a lie. Trump never said drink bleach. Trump said, he asked the question, is there a way that we can inject disinfectant because in people's lungs to disinfect their lungs because their lungs were infected with the virus? He never said anything about drinking bleach. So I commented under this ad that's full of lies, drinking bleach, and I was flagged for typing drinking bleach in the comments as using violent language because they flagged me for saying drinking bleach. I wasn't saying drinking bleach. I was pointing out the lie in Joe Biden's ad where he is claiming that Donald Trump said drink bleach, and Donald Trump did not say drink bleach. But again, this ad is just filled with lies. I mean, I hope at a minimum, I would be very disappointed if there is not a community note added to this ad full of lies.
Midnight tweets to drinking bleach to tear gassing citizens and staging a photo op.
So tear gassing citizens, we're going to talk about what that's about here in a moment, because this weekend is the 4-year anniversary of George Floyd and the incident where he lost his life in Minneapolis. Actually, tomorrow, the 25th, is the day that George Floyd had the incident with the police officers where he passed the fake $100 bill. They called the police. He's outside in his car, doing drugs with 2 other people. They pull him out of the car. They handcuff him. He refuses to get into the cop car. He is belligerent, and the other cop car that had Derek Chauvin in it, they show up and they're trying to get him in the back of the car. He won't get in the back of the car. They eventually put him on the ground, and Chauvin's got his knee. So that happened. The anniversary of that is tomorrow. So this incident in Joe Biden's ad where he tear gassed citizens, we're going to talk more about this incident where Donald Trump tear gassed citizens on Monday, because Monday's podcast is going to be closer to the anniversary of what happened at the White House after what happened in Minneapolis, which we talked a little bit about in the last podcast. We're going to talk more about today, and we're going to talk more about it in future podcasts, because I want to remind you people of what happened 4 years ago and what these people did. So yes, he used tear gas on citizens. Yeah, citizens that were trying to burn down St. John's Church, and he had to be rushed to his underground bunker by Secret Service because they were attacking the White House. Yeah, those are the citizens that he tear gassed.
From midnight tweets to drinking bleach to tear gassing citizens and staging a photo op. We knew Trump was out of control when he was president. Then he lost the 2020 election and snapped, desperately trying to hold on to power. Now he's running again, this time
2020
to be a dictator, to terminate the Constitution.
If I don't get elected, it's going to be
That's a lie. That's a lie. He didn't say if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath. He was talking about economic bloodbath, about China making vehicles in Mexico and shipping them across. I mean, just filled with lies. Can I get a community note on this? Now, so this ad is not hitting at all. This ad is not going to move anybody towards Joe Biden at all. And I want you to listen to this. This is one of Joe Biden's black talented 10th campaign directors running his campaign, who is responsible for that ad. Take a listen.
To democracy and the threat that he poses. And this ad does the same thing. When Donald Trump was president, he told Americans to inject bleach during one of the worst pandemics.
Yeah, he never said inject bleach, buddy. You're lying. He said inject disinfectant because people were infected with the virus. That's what he said. I don't know why you have to lie.
Communicating to voters exactly how dangerous Donald Trump is to democracy and the threat that he poses. And this ad does the same thing. When Donald Trump was president, he told Americans to inject bleach during one of the worst pandemics of our lifetime. He has continued to double down on his extreme rhetoric, embracing political violence. And we're going to highlight that
political violence
and make sure that we're drawing a contrast between his vision of America and the vision that President Biden and Vice President Harris have for America. And that's exactly what this ad is doing. And so we're not focused on these polls because there are polls out there that have us up. There are polls out there that have us down.
Yeah, no, you're not focused on the polls. They're not focused on the polls, people. They're focused on Lippman's 13 keys. I promise you. And this ad that you guys put together, it's not gonna hit. It doesn't hit nearly as well as Donald Trump's unified Reich or ad. And if you haven't seen Donald Trump's, Donald Trump's campaign didn't make this. Someone else made it. But this campaign ad, the unified Reich ad, and if you didn't hear about the unified Reich controversy, that just these people are so desperate. They're so desperate. Before I play the unified Reich ad, I want you to listen. This is a clip that I had a couple of, or in the last podcast, I didn't get a chance to play it. It's James Carville. This is what James Carville is saying.
In Trump's more ahead than he's ever been. Fewer people think January 6th was any kind of what it was, as an assault on the temple of democracy, the Constitution. I don't know whatever the fuck you want to say. It's going the wrong way. It's not working. Everything that we're throwing is spaghetti at a wall, and none of it is sticking, me included. And it's hard when you start in your 80th year.
He's frustrated.
You know, like anybody else, I have an opinion of myself. And the opinion I've come to is, I don't matter. It doesn't matter.
So he's frustrated. He said it's like throwing spaghetti at the wall. And that's what this unified Reich controversy was. It's throwing spaghetti at the wall. And it just reeks of desperation. But I want you to take a look at this clip, and then he plays the ad, the actual ad at the end. The ad is brilliant. The ad is very inspirational. The ad is inspiring, and it doesn't even mention Joe Biden at all. It doesn't even mention the Democrats at all. It's just all positive. It's just listen to this clip.
Former president is under fire for a video he posted on social media that used language from Nazi Germany.
Nazi Germany.
In a series of anti-Semitic and authoritarian statements from Trump and his campaign.
These people are
that phrase appearing 3 times.
This country is so stupid. You got to look. So when you wait till you see the ad, you have to take a magnifying glass, through the ad and find this phrase, unified Reich, because it's clips of old newspapers. It's absolutely desperate, absolutely ridiculous.
Putting under the headline, "What's next for America?"
A unified Reich, which is a word, of course, associated with Hitler's Third Reich during Nazi Germany.
He will create a unified Reich, echoing the Germans from World War II, if you're catching my drift.
So it's not only that these people are idiots, which they obviously are, but they think that all of the American people are idiots. I mean, the word Reich means empire. The word Reich was used, it's German for empire. The word Reich started to be used during Otto the Great, who created the Holy Roman Empire. The Germans have been using the word Reich for centuries. It's not like the word Reich just came about when the Nazis came to power in 1933. These people are so ridiculous.
Catching my drift.
Really stupid people. And when
very
it comes
stupid.
From this many sources, of course, including most print and online outlets as well. We saw it from CBS, from NBC. It came from everywhere, from all sides at the same time. When it's that powerful, The message quickly permeates through the American bloodstream. Everybody heard this story today, and of course that was the point. The word unified Reich, seen in the background of a pro-Trump ad. It was a dog whistle to the Nazis. It's Charlottesville all over again. Most, though, if you noticed, were never actually shown the actual ad. You probably haven't even seen it yet, because seeing it would
it's a great ad. They never should have pulled the ad.
Roll their eyes.
They never should have pulled this ad.
Duped again by the outrage machine. And with that, we're going to play this ad, which was not produced by Trump's campaign, by the way, and was simply reposted by the president while he was in court on Monday. Take a look.
What happens after Donald Trump wins? What's next for America? The economy booms. American energy is unleashed and an end to crushing taxes. The border is closed and the largest deportation in history is underway. No more wars as we focus on home. Law and order.
No more wars as we focus on home. We'll look at the rest of this ad. I want you to watch Joe Biden's ad one more time, and you tell me which one are you feeling. Okay, let's watch Joe Biden's ad, and then we're going to watch this ad, Unified Reich. Again.
From midnight tweets to drinking bleach to tear-gassing citizens and staging a photo op, we knew Trump was out of control when he was president. Then he lost the 2020 election and snapped, desperately trying to hold on to power. Now he's running again, this time threatening to be a dictator, to terminate the Constitution.
If I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath.
Trump wants revenge, and he'll stop at nothing to get it.
Okay, so now let's watch this ad. Which one you feeling?
Take a look.
What happens after Donald Trump wins? What's next for America? The economy booms. American energy is unleashed and an end to crushing taxes. The border is closed and the largest deportation in history is underway. No more wars as we focus on home. Law and order is restored. The American dream is back and the best is yet to come. Make America great again.
I mean, it's just policy after policy after policy. It doesn't even mention Joe Biden. I wonder why he's losing.
Did you even see it?
No, I didn't see it.
So you see what we have.
You need a magnifying glass.
Trump supporter did some fancy editing to create a pro-Trump ad in a vintage journalistic style. It's actually a really good ad.
It's a great ad.
Which has absolutely nothing to do with a German Reich of any kind. And we investigated this. We actually found the editor's template, which was used for this, and we can pull it up maybe full screen. You can buy this online. It's called Newspaper Vintage History Headlines Promo. If you wanted to make a vintage ad, this is exactly how you would do it. You just go online and buy this from whatever company this is, and they probably use it for a long time. And it basically uses a collection of old news headlines and subheadlines and articles from like the early 1900s.
It was a template.
Was German industrial strength significantly increased after 1871, driven by the creation of a unified Reich.
So what is this talking about? So first of all, it's a template of a historical reference to 1887, the creation of a unified Reich, when Wilhelm I of Prussia united Prussia, Bohemia, Bavaria, and the other German independent states into the unified Reich of Germany is what this is referring to. And these clowns went, on and on about how, oh my God, unified Reich. We are swimming in stupid people. We're swimming in stupid. So I'm going to just give you one more example of the contrast between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, and then we'll get into today's podcast, because none of this is really what I wanted to share with you guys today, and we're probably going to have to pick this up on Monday. Definitely will. But this was another tweet and people, different versions of this I've seen going around that are edited together, not two different videos, but I'm going to play the two different videos, not all of Joe Biden, just to give you, because people are sharing this, to contrast Joe Biden's message and Trump's message. So this was Joe Biden at the speech that he gave on Sunday at Morehouse. Take a listen.
You missed your high school graduation. You started college just as George Floyd was murdered. You missed your high school graduation. Promises still leave black communities behind. What is democracy? You have to be 10 times better than anyone else to get a fair shot. And most of all, what does it mean, as we've heard before, to be a black man who loves his country, even if it doesn't love him back in equal measure? You missed.
So, that's Biden saying.
High school graduate.
Biden saying that your country doesn't love you to black people, and then this was Trump yesterday in the Bronx. Look at the contrast. Tell me what you're feeling.
It doesn't matter whether you're black or brown or white or whatever the hell color you are. It doesn't matter. We are all Americans, and we're going to pull together as Americans.
Listen to the crowd. I mean, when Joe Biden said this at Morehouse, he got no applause. When Donald Trump says we're all Americans, no matter what color you are, listen to the crowd. Oh my God. Oh my God. So what are you feeling? Tell me what you're feeling. Who are you feeling? So back to what we were talking about in the last podcast, and we were talking about Alan Lippman's 13 keys, and we were playing the clip of Alan Lippman in 2019. In 2019, Alan Lippman was on CNN, and he was warning Democrats because he says that he is a Democrat, but he says that the hardest thing about making his predictions and using his model is keeping his own politics out of it. But I'm a Democrat. But so he was on CNN in the clip that we played in the last podcast, and he was warning the Democrats. He was saying, you have to impeach Donald Trump. You have to turn another one of these keys, because I only have, at this moment in time, I only have 3 keys turned for Donald Trump, and you need 6. So he was begging with the Democrats, impeach, because impeachment may trigger some of these other keys. But at this point, I only have 3 keys. So what were the 3 keys in, I think that interview that we watched last week was around August of September in 2009, when he was warning them and telling them, you gotta impeach. This is before the phone call with Zelensky, before they even had a reason to impeach. So now that I'm thinking about it, that interview may have been in early August, because the phone call with Zelensky, I don't remember when it was, but the Lippman interview that we watched last week on CNN, it was before the Zelensky phone call. So at that time, when he was warning Democrats that you got to impeach, he was referring to something having to do with the Mueller investigation, obstruction of justice, in firing James Comey. And whatever excuse. The excuse didn't matter to Lippman. If you listen to what he was saying, you have to turn the scandal key. So what were the 3 keys that Lippman had turned on Donald Trump at the time when he was saying, I only have 3 and you need 3 more turned? Well, he had the charisma of the incumbent. This key he had turned, because he said that Donald Trump wasn't very charismatic. Military, foreign policy, military success. Donald Trump did not have a military success. He didn't have a military failure either, but he didn't have a military excess. So those were 2 keys that Lippman had turned on Trump. And then party mandate. Party mandate is in the midterm elections before the 2020 election in 2018, the House of Representatives, the Democrats won seats and the Republicans lost seats. So this is the party mandate. So that's the 3rd key that he had turned on on Trump at that time. This key right here, party mandate and the 2018 elections, you have to understand that the reason that the Democrats won all those seats in 2018 and this party mandate key was turned was because of scandal. It's really interesting that Alan Lippman is in the summer of 2019 warning Democrats that you have to impeach because Donald Trump, because he wanted this scandal key to be turned. But if you look at from the very beginning of the Donald Trump administration, this scandal key was turned and it became a dud and the air was let out of it. The Mueller investigation started 3 months into Trump's administration. And it was all brought about because of Crossfire Hurricane, the FBI spying on him, and this intelligence operation on the incoming president of the United States is what that was. It's funny because now you have James Comey. You may have seen James Comey. He's, hawking a book, and he's been doing the rounds, and everybody's interviewing James Comey, and James Comey's warning people, don't vote for Trump. He's going to go after his enemies. Don't vote for Trump. He's going to go after his enemies. Good, James Comey. I hope he does come after you. I hope he does, bro. I really do. James Comey looks scared in these interviews because what they did to Donald Trump, this intelligence operation that they did, Crossfire Hurricane, starting the Mueller investigation, calling Donald Trump a Russian agent and that he was in cahoots with Russia and that you have to come out and vote for Democrats in 2018 or Donald Trump's going to end the Mueller investigation. He's going to get off. That's what motivated the party mandate in 2018, this faux manufactured scandal that they had created with Crossfire Hurricane and the Mueller investigation. But by 2019, the Mueller investigation was done. It was a dud, and it had achieved nothing. And then Lippman is still encouraging Democrats, you got to impeach. And they knew they couldn't impeach him for anything having to do with the Mueller investigation. That's why they created this narrative around the Zelensky phone call and created a reason to impeach him. He was impeached on party lines by only Democrats, not a single Republican voted to impeach him in the House of Representatives. Nancy Pelosi holds the articles of impeachment for about 2 months and then delivers them to the Senate for a trial at the appropriate time where we're going into the next year, the election year, and you're beginning 2020 with the impeachment trial of Donald Trump. So you have this scandal key turned. So Lippman was giving them the roadmap, telling them what keys to turn. So they turned the scandal key with the impeachment in the beginning of 2020. As a matter of fact, if you understand what was going on with the impeachment, because Nancy Pelosi held the impeachment for 2 months and then finally sent them to the Senate, just as we're going into 2020, we're focusing on the impeachment. The Donald Trump administration was focused on the impeachment and defending himself in the impeachment. And that's the time when COVID starts to heat up in China, in Wuhan, in November, late November, December of 2019, going into January of 2020 is when COVID started to kick off. And that's the exact time when Nancy Pelosi delivers the articles of impeachment to the Senate. And we're distracted by the impeachment scandal while COVID is taking off in Wuhan, China. Now, the scandal key was turned by impeachment, and these two economy keys, the short-term and long-term economy, they were great before COVID. Lippman didn't have these keys turned, but COVID turned these two keys. These two keys were turned by COVID-19, and that's what Democrats, they want you to only judge Donald Trump by what happened in 2020 to the end of 2020. They don't want you to look at anything that happened in the first 3 years of Donald Trump's administration. So we're going to look at how COVID turned these two keys And then we're also going to get back into how Black Lives Matter and George Floyd turned the social unrest key. Nancy Pelosi was in an interview with Katie Tur a few weeks ago, and it went viral because NBC's Katie Tur. So this is the thing with Joe Biden and his administration and why his campaign is so frustrated, because they see his economic numbers as being great. And the reason that they see his economic numbers being so good is primarily because of job creation. I mean, you can talk about inflation, you can talk about, GDP growth and all these other data points, but the real strength of Donald Trump's economic record is job creation. But the American public is not stupid. The American public knows that those are jobs that people lost and jobs that people walked away from during COVID-19 when we were in lockdown. The public understands that we shut the entire economy down and that people lost their jobs. So now that people are just going back to work, I mean, even the most brain dead Americans can put the two and two together. They know that equals 4. They know that all of these people had to quit their jobs and were unemployed because of COVID. And then when COVID was over, then these people just went back to work. That's why Joe Biden's not getting any credit for this job creation. Come on. So Nancy Pelosi's in this interview with Katie Tur, MSNBC's Katie Tur, again. And Katie Tur calls her on that, and then she gets all frustrated. I can't believe you're calling me on that on MSNBC. And then she calls Katie Tur a Trump apologist. Katie Tur, a Trump apologist. This is hilarious.
There are those who have real legitimate concerns about immigration, globalization, innovation, and what does that mean for their job and their family's future? And we have to address those concerns. And Joe Biden is doing that, created 9 million jobs in his term in office. Donald Trump has the worst record of job loss of any president. So we just have to make sure people know.
That was a global pandemic.
He had the worst record of any president. We've had other concerns in our country.
She says, well, there was the global pandemic.
To be an apologist for Donald Trump, that may be your role, but it ain't mine. And he has the worst.
I don't think that anybody can accuse me of that.
I love it. Katie Tur says, I don't think anybody can accuse me of that, of being a Trump apologist. Like, it's so ridiculous accusing Katie Tur of being a Trump apologist. She hates Trump. But she can say the truth, Nancy Pelosi, that, yeah, people lost those jobs because of COVID, because of COVID-19, because of the virus that you guys released from a lab. I don't want to get ahead of myself. But they want you to only focus on COVID-19. They use COVID-19 not only to turn these keys for Lippmann's model to get rid of Trump in 2020. They didn't only use COVID-19 for that. They're currently using COVID-19. They want you to view everything that happened with COVID-19, a virus that started in Wuhan, China. China virus. It's the China virus is where it started. China completely covered it up along with the World Health Organization. And it's Trump's fault. Take a listen to Richie Torres.
Well, Donald Trump's presidency was a catastrophe for the Bronx. His gross mismanagement of the COVID-19 global pandemic left a death toll of more than 7,000 fatalities in the Bronx, which is greater than the death count of 9/11 and Pearl Harbor combined. So Donald Trump has brought preventable death and deep suffering to the people of the Bronx. And as I noted, instead of holding a rally, he should be issuing an apology to the people of the Bronx for the long and lasting damage that he has done, not only to the Bronx, but to our country.
So Trump killed all those people. Wasn't Cuomo and his policies killed all those people in New York? It wasn't the lies and the people, guys, the revisionist history that is going on around. I mean, it was just 4 years ago. I mean, people think we're stupid, like Cuomo's brother. What's his name? The Fredo Cuomo, that he's got the new program where he's trying to reinvent himself, and he says that he's on ivermectin now, and that we were wrong to say ivermectin was animal medicine, and he's trying to recreate himself now. No, you guys cannot recreate yourself. We remember what you did. It was not Trump's fault at all. It wasn't Trump's fault. The virus came from a lab. It came from a lab in Wuhan, China. China virus is what Trump said. It was the China virus. You can't blame it on Trump because it came from China, because they lied to us in the beginning, telling us it came from a wet market and a bat and a pangolin. And, you couldn't fly from Wuhan to Beijing, but you could fly from Wuhan to Milan, Italy. So it came from the lab. I'm getting ready to demonstrate that to you. But it not only came from a lab, it came from the lab on purpose, people. It had to be on purpose. Because if it wasn't on purpose, then why would they lie? Why would they try to cover it up? They released this virus from a lab, and they did it for multiple reasons. Not only to turn these keys on Trump, they did it for another reason as well, which I'm getting ready to show you. But it came from a lab, and they lied and they covered up. If it was an accident, if it was an accidental leak from the lab, they would have quarantined Wuhan. They wouldn't have allowed anyone to fly to Beijing or to Milan. They would have told you immediately that, oh my God, this was a mistake. It came from the virology lab here in Wuhan. We know what this is. We know what we have to do to tackle this. But that's not what happened. The World Health Organization said early on that we don't detect any human-to-human transmission. And there's tons of human-to-human transmission. They were lying. They were covering up. They were allowing it to spread. So it not only came from the lab, it came from the lab on purpose. And I'm going to show you that. Remember John Leibowitz on the Colbert program, and I want you to take a look at this clip if you don't remember it or have never seen it. This is Leibowitz connecting the dots about the virus coming from the lab.
There's a chance that this was created in a lab. There's an investigation.
A chance?
Well, if there was evidence, I'd love to hear it.
There's a novel respiratory coronavirus overtaking Wuhan, China. What do? Oh, you know who we could ask? The Wuhan novel respiratory coronavirus lab. The disease is the same name as the lab. That's just a little too weird, don't you think? And then they ask those scientists, they're like, how did this... So wait a minute, you work at the Wuhan respiratory coronavirus lab. How did this happen? And they're like, a pangolin kissed a turtle. And you're like, no. The name of your lab. If you look at the name, let me see your business card. Show me your business card. Oh, I work at the coronavirus lab in Wuhan. Oh, because there's a coronavirus loose in Wuhan. How did that happen? Maybe a bat flew into the cloaca of a turkey and
so even John
sneezed into my chili.
Even John Leibowitz knew. And everybody knew. Everybody knew that it came from a lab, and you weren't allowed to say it in 2020. Anything, you would get kicked off of YouTube. You would get kicked off of every platform if you even suggested that this thing came from a lab. That's because they were covering it up, because this is all part of the program, people. They didn't want you talking about the fact that it came from a lab, so they were censoring you. They were censoring everyone that even suggested. Doctors, virologists, scientists that were saying this, they were being censored. And boy, today, What happened this week, people? I mean, what I'm getting ready to share with you should make you angry. This is a huge scandal, a huge scandal. Let's listen to Comer. This is James Comer, and he is the chairman of the Oversight Committee. And he is forecasting this congressional hearing that they had on Wednesday with an aide from the NIH, the National Institute of Health, that was run by Anthony Fauci and what's the other doctor? I can't believe I'm drawing blank on his name. Fauci's boss. Anyway, this is an aide, an advisor to Anthony Fauci from the NIH, David Morenz. And he testified on Wednesday. This is James Comer talking about what he was planning on testifying to. And then we're going to listen to some of the testimony from Congress. Take a listen.
With Dr. Anthony Fauci's senior advisor, Dr. David Morenz, set to testify. Dr. Morenz accused of deliberately obstructing the subcommittee's investigation into the origins of COVID-19.
Into the origins of COVID-19, okay?
Subcommittee's investigation into the origins of COVID-19 to protect Dr. Fauci. The panel also claims Dr. Morenz used his personal email to subvert federal record-keeping laws. Joining me now is House Oversight and Accountability.
Used his personal email to obstruct FOIA requests from the government, from news agencies, or anybody. Anybody can. I mean, that's what people are talking about, our democracy and saving our democracy. This is a very central tenet to our democracy, openness, to the Freedom of Information Act. The freedom to get information from the government is available to anybody. Anybody can file a FOIA. So these guys were using secret email accounts. Reminds you of someone like Hillary Clinton with her 5 servers in her bathroom in Chappaqua. But these idiots were using Gmail. And to avoid FOIA requests, to keep correspondence private about the origins of COVID-19. Now, what does Anthony Fauci have to do with the lab in Wuhan, with the virology lab in Wuhan? They were funding it. Anthony Fauci and the NIH were funding the lab in Wuhan. They were funding them through grants. Take a listen.
Federal record-keeping laws. Joining me now is House Oversight and Accountability Committee Chairman James Comer. Sir, great to see you. Thanks for being here. You're going to be at that hearing tomorrow, of course. What are you trying to uncover specifically?
Well, we have evidence that would lead us to believe that Dr. Morenz at best misled Congress during his transcribed interviews, and at worst lied about his involvement and his knowledge with respect to EcoHealth Alliance and what American...
EcoHealth Alliance is the group, was the middleman between the NIH and the Wuhan virology lab there in Wuhan where the virus came from, EcoHealth Alliance. So you have to understand that they were the middleman between the NIH and the lab there in Wuhan.
With respect to EcoHealth Alliance and what American tax dollars were doing in funding gain-of-function research, we know that he was a senior advisor to Dr. Fauci. We know that so much of what Dr. Fauci has testified to Congress is proving to not be true. And we know that we have emails where he bragged about how to avert Freedom of Information Act request, how he deleted emails. And we want to ask him, we'll give him an opportunity to explain himself and to explain the evidence that we have that would commit that he misled Congress.
Misled Congress about the origins of COVID-19. Not just about some minor thing. It's hilarious that this testimony I posted on one of my social media accounts that this is crazy that the NIH just got caught lying, covering up the origins of COVID-19, and Democrats are worried about a flag, some flag that Alito is flying at his house. That's what they're worried about. And no, you've heard nothing about this testimony on any of the mainstream media, and they just got caught red-handed covering up the origins of COVID-19. Let's listen. We're going to listen to this report here from Rising, and then we're going to listen to some actual testimony from Morenz.
Good morning and welcome to Rising. We have another spectacular show for you today, and I think we're eager to get to it, so let's do just that. The question on our minds is, what did Dr. Anthony Fauci know, and when did he know it? Now, if you ask the House Select Committee on COVID, the former director knew about a cache of emails revealing information about lab leak involvement early on, perhaps, and did his best to hide it. Now, the former director...
Let's listen to that again. That he knew about the lab leak and did his best to hide it.
The former director knew about a cache of emails revealing information about lab leak involvement early on, perhaps, and did his best to hide it. Now, the former director of the National Institutes of Health, Anthony Fauci, is under renewed scrutiny after David Morenz, Fauci's former senior advisor...
Fauci needs to be arrested.
...testified Wednesday about these damning emails concerning early-stage origins of COVID, some of which may have implicated Fauci. Now, Republicans and Democrats on the panel exhaustively questioned him concerning the email correspondence that he had with multiple people, most notably Peter Daszak.
Peter Daszak is the head of the EcoHealth Alliance, which was the middleman between... Peter Daszak is the head of EcoHealth Alliance, which was the middleman between the NIH and the Wuhan lab.
Email correspondence that he had with multiple people, most notably Peter Daszak, head of EcoHealth Alliance, who worked very closely with the Wuhan lab.
Okay, so let's listen to some actual congressional testimony of them questioning Anthony Fauci's aide about them hiding emails and information about the origins of COVID-19 to prevent them being discovered in a FOIA request. This is explosive. This is a huge scandal, people.
I believe earlier today you said, sir, Tony, meaning Tony Fauci, does not want me to connect anything to him. And when asked by my colleagues, did you use personal email for official business, your answer was, I didn't think it was doing official business. And then just now you said, not intentionally. Let me read some of the emails.
Yes, please read some of the emails.
From you says, P.S. I forgot to say there is no worry about FOIAs. I can either send stuff to Tony on his private email or hand it to him at work or at his house. He's too smart to let colleagues send him stuff that could cause trouble.
FOIA stands for Freedom of Information. I know many of you know it, but some of you, if you don't, FOIA, when you hear them talking about FOIA, it's the Freedom of Information Act.
Worry about FOIAs. I can either send stuff to Tony on his private email or hand it to him at work or at his house. He's too smart to let colleagues send him stuff that could cause trouble. Next email from you said, I suggested Arthur try to interview Tony, meaning Tony Fauci, directly and connected him to our secret back channel. He emailed Tony a few hours ago. Next email.
Secret back channel about the origins of COVID, people.
I forgot to clarify in my email yesterday that both my Gmail and phone calls are now safe. Text is not, as it can be FOIA'd, as can my great government email. So you and Peter Daszak, and others should be able to email me on Gmail only, with the caveat that no other government employee is copied at a government address, as all government emails are potentially FOIAble.
Wow.
Next email from you. This is sent from my Gmail account. Please send all replies here to Gmail. There are things I can't say, except Tony is aware. I have learned that there are ongoing efforts within NIH to steer through this with minimal damage to you, Peter, and colleagues, and to NIH and NIAID. Next email, Jerry. My private Gmail account is where I sent this from after forwarding to myself from my NIH account. Please try to send only to my Gmail, as we are doing a couple weeks ago, but I messed up a few times and sent them from my NIH account because on my phone the two are merged. And then when you respond,
this is explosive, people.
NIH.
This is explosive. We need a 9/11, a 9/11 Warren style commission is what we need to investigate all of this. That's what we need. We need a bipartisan, a commission that is focused on all of this cover up, the funding of gain of function. Let me show you how they were doing. This is another piece of testimony here. We'll listen to that one in a moment. And this is explaining how they were paying these grants, using government money to pay these grants to do this gain of function research in Wuhan, which is where the virus came from. And they weren't supposed to be issuing these grants. So they were hiding the way that they were doing this from Congress. Take a listen to this.
Over the past months, this subcommittee has heard testimony from Dr. Dasick of EcoHealth and NIH Deputy Director Dr. Tabik. During that questioning of both of these witnesses, it has become clear to me that the NIH's current grant processes are inadequate to ensure the proper oversight of federal funds. Dr. Dasick revealed that EcoHealth's renegotiated grant would rely on continued work from the Wuhan Institute of Virology, and Dr. Tabik confirmed that NIH was unaware of this continued collaboration when certifying EcoHealth's compliance. This means
So he's going to explain it to you, but let me explain it to you first and break it down because see, he's saying that EcoHealth Alliance, which is the middleman between the Wuhan lab and the NIH, that they said because they weren't supposed to be doing any work with the Wuhan lab. So they said, we stopped doing work with Wuhan lab, then you can give us a grant now. So the grant was being issued through EcoHealth. So EcoHealth said that we stopped doing business with Wuhan. We're not doing business with, so NIH continued giving the grants, but the EcoHealth Alliance was in fact still funneling those grants to the Wuhan lab in China. It's explosive.
And Dr. Tabik confirmed that NIH was unaware of this continued collaboration when certifying EcoHealth's compliance. This means that based on false statements, NIH and NIAID approved federal funding to go toward work involving the debarred Wuhan Institute of Virology. Dr. Morens.
Wow. All right, let's listen to, this is Marjorie Taylor Greene reading some more of Morin's emails. So you heard Let's Go talking about how, reading his emails saying, don't email me here if we're going to be talking about origins of COVID-19 and all that stuff. Email my Gmail account. And so this is the stuff that they were hiding. Listen to Marjorie Taylor Greene read some of the emails about what they wanted. They didn't want people to know, and why you got to go to Gmail. We can't be emailing on the NIH account.
Dr. Morens, your emails have been quite interesting. Reading them has been pretty shocking. On April 18th, 2020, you wrote an email saying, Peter Daszak emailed me and Tony, congratulating Tony on standing up for science. That email somehow fell into the hands of the congressman, probably via a FOIA of someone who didn't delete it, as I did, delete all of Peter's emails and others relating to the origin when the shit started hitting the fan. Anyway, the congressman got a copy of Peter D's emails from someone at NIH, and he now wants to get any reply Tony and I or anyone else may have sent back to Peter. Mine was erased long ago. I verified that today, and I feel pretty sure Tony's was too. The best way to avoid FOIA hassles is to delete all emails when you learn a subject is getting sensitive. In any case, there's nothing here except opportunities to hassle, harass, and huff and puff. You really got into some opportunities. You also wrote on June 16, 2020, you said, the FOIAs are dreadful and paranoia-inducing. In the old days, we had to do them ourselves by hand. I mean, finding and printing out thousands of emails coming in and going out. Now, they sometimes FOIA text messages, too. Many FOIAs turn up thousands of pages of docs, and of course, most of meaningless. We are all smart enough to know to never have smoking guns. And if we did, we wouldn't put them in emails. And if we found them, we'd delete them.
Smoking guns about what? Smoking guns about what, people? The origins. The origins. That's what he says. The origins. We got to delete everything about the origins. So, am I saying that they released this virus from the lab in Wuhan just to turn these keys on Donald Trump in 2020? No, that's not what I'm saying. That was part of it. That was part of why they released the virus and allowed it to spread, was to turn these keys on Donald Trump. But there was another more global reason that they released this virus. And you have to understand what was going on in the summer of 2019. The world was on fire, people. You had the Hong Kong protests. You had the yellow vest protests in France. You had protests in Chile. You had protests all over the world. The world was on fire. There was this huge populist movement, populist uprising, a global populist uprising that was all extinguished by COVID-19. So no, it wasn't just to turn those keys on Trump. It was also to squash and to tamper down these global tensions, these global populist movements that were uprising all over the world in the summer of 2019. Take a listen to this clip.
Across the globe, 2019 has been a year of major protests. Demonstrations erupted over corruption, taxes, the climate, and much more, marking what experts say was a tipping point of ordinary people fed up with measures imposed by a ruling elite. From Paris to Hong Kong, Venezuela to Algeria, an outpouring of anger raged across nearly every continent, with millions rallying against their governments to tell their leaders this isn't good enough.
So that was all in the summer of 2019, all over the world. All over the world, this was going on. Millions and millions of people demonstrating against the New World Order, demonstrating against the elite and the corruption in their individual countries. And people were mad. It was a populist uprising all over the world. And it was extinguished by COVID-19, which they released from the lab. So they used COVID-19 not only to turn these keys, but that was part of it. So these are the 6 keys. So at first, Alan Littman saying, I only have 3 keys turned on Donald Trump. He's not charismatic. He didn't have any foreign policy success, and the Republican Party lost seats in the midterm election. Those are the only keys I have turned for him. I'm warning you, Democrats. I'm requesting and begging you to impeach Donald Trump so we can turn this scandal key, is what Littman was saying. And then they used COVID-19 to turn the economy keys, and then we'll get back into Black Lives Matter on Monday. We're going to talk about the social unrest key and how they turned the social unrest key. I'm going to remind you guys of some stuff that maybe you forgot about 4 years ago, but they knew what they were doing when they turned the social unrest key. So we'll get into that in the next podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you on Monday. Monday is a holiday, but I will be here. So I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I'll see you on Monday.